In exciting news, yesterday the FDA approved Zepbound for sleep apnea, and it could bring hope for affordability, access, and better health. Stick around to find out what this means for millions of Americans. Hello, I'm Christopher Durham, and we are the Downsized. My wife Lorraine and I have been on a life-changing adventure with GLP-1 medication, losing a combined 130 plus pounds using Mounjaro, Zepbound, and compounded tirzepatide. I have personally lost 88 pounds over the last little more than a year since starting the medication in September of 2023, and I can't even tell you how much it's improved my health, better energy, better sleep, and a whole new outlook. When I first started, I had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, undiagnosed sleep apnea, and knee pain as a result of a childhood surgery that had been bothering me for years. Fast forward to today, and these problems are gone. I'm off blood pressure and cholesterol meds. I sleep through the night, and my knee feels great. These medications aren't just about weight loss. They're about treating the disease of obesity and improving overall health. Today, we're talking about an update from the FDA that could have a big impact on the lives of patients who are using GLP-1s to treat the disease of obesity. Before we get started, I want to say I'm not a doctor, and this video is for informational purposes only. Make sure to talk to your healthcare provider before starting or changing any medications. Yesterday, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved Zepbound, also known as tirzepatide, for the treatment of moderate to severe obstructive sleep apnea in adults with obesity. This approval isn't just about sleep. It's about offering real treatment options for a condition that affects millions of people, especially those struggling with obesity. Dr. Sally Seymour at the FDA called this approval a major step forward for patients with obstructive sleep apnea, and we couldn't agree more. Obstructive sleep apnea happens when your upper airway gets blocked during sleep, causing pauses in breathing. It's a serious condition that can lead to poor sleep quality, fatigue, and other health complications. While it can affect anyone, it's far more common in people with obesity. If you've watched our videos of the last year, you know Lorraine and I have talked about this extensively. I had serious snoring problems, serious problems stopping breathing throughout the night, and it was becoming a real issue that we were going to have tested for. Fortunately, I started taking this medication before it got to that point, but we were probably months away from that. The medication changed that almost overnight. According to the National Healthy Sleep Awareness Project, at least 25 million adults in the United States are currently affected by obstructive sleep apnea. Studies link it to increased risks of high blood pressure, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, stroke, and depression. Dr. Timothy Morgenthaler, president of the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, says obstructive sleep apnea is destroying the health of millions of Americans, and the problem has only gotten worse over the last 2 decades. The obesity epidemic has fueled this surge, and now about 26% of adults between 30 and 70 years old are estimated to have sleep apnea. This isn't just about better sleep. It's about improving overall health and lowering long-term healthcare costs. And here's where it gets even more interesting. With this approval, Zepbound could also be paving the way for expanded access through insurance and Medicare and Medicaid coverage. Many Medicare plans do not cover GLP-1s for obesity alone, leaving millions without access, leaving the medications far too expensive for them to afford. But this new approval for OSA, recognized as a medical need rather than a weight loss issue, could change that. We've seen this before with Novo Nordisk's Wegovy, which gained Medicare traction after its approval for reducing cardiovascular risks in patients with heart failure. Similarly, Medicare patients with an OSA diagnosis may now have a pathway to access Zepbound for their condition, with weight loss benefits as a secondary outcome. For patients, this approval could make GLP-1 medications more affordable and easier to access through insurance. It's part of Eli Lilly's plan to reach more people by expanding coverage to those with other health conditions linked to obesity. Right now, Zepbound is approved for obesity, and it's also being studied for other conditions like heart failure, fatty liver disease or NASH, kidney disease, polycystic ovarian syndrome, Alzheimer's, high blood pressure, and even improving heart health by reducing major cardiovascular risks. This could be a big step towards making these treatments available to the 75% of Americans who are overweight or obese, while also helping Eli Lilly continue to grow its market share and increase its profits. This approval couldn't have come at a better time. With the FDA recently removing Zepbound and Mounjaro from the drug shortage list and the ongoing compounded tirzepatide crisis, this announcement could eventually lead to dramatically increased coverage, including Medicaid and Medicare. It has the potential to make these medications accessible to hundreds of thousands of people who have been struggling to find options. This approval also raises important questions. Will Medicare policies adapt quickly to cover Zepbound for OSA patients? Will this spur even more innovation in how insurers view obesity treatments? So, how does Zepbound work? It's a GLP-1 medication that activates hormone receptors to reduce appetite and food intake. Studies have shown that by helping patients lose weight, Zepbound also improves obstructive sleep apnea. The FDA's approval was based on 2 clinical studies involving 469 adults with type 2 diabetes. Participants were using positive airway pressure therapy known as PAP or were unable or unwilling to use it. Participants were randomly assigned to receive 10 or 15 milligram doses of Zepbound or placebo once a week for 52 weeks. The main goal was to measure changes in how often breathing was interrupted during sleep. After 52 weeks, participants on Zepbound experienced a meaningful reduction in apnea events compared to those on placebo. On average, they saw 25 fewer breathing interruptions each hour. Up to 50% of participants no longer had symptoms of obstructive sleep apnea after 1 year. Zepbound users also lost up to 20% of their body weight, about 45 to 50 pounds, depending on whether they combined it with PAP therapy. Julia Flygare, president of Project Sleep, says that OSA is often brushed off as just snoring, but it's much more serious. She hopes this approval sparks better conversations between patients and doctors. Lilly's executive president, Patrick Johnson, said nearly half of clinical trial patients saw such improvements that they no longer had symptoms associated with OSA. That's huge progress for patients dealing with this condition. Zepbound received fast-track priority review and breakthrough therapy designations for this indication, showing just how important this approval is for patients and the medical community. So what does this mean for those of us battling the disease of obesity with GLP-1s? How does it impact me? How does it impact my pricing? How does it impact my ability to get these medications? Well, it's one more example of how these treatments are opening new doors, not just for weight loss, but for managing other serious health conditions. This approval is definitely a win for the GLP-1 community, but it will not transfer to Medicaid, Medicare insurance overnight. It will take some time. So over the course of the next year, hopefully it will be added to many formularies, and we come back to the nasty word PBM. So the PBMs will have to add it to their formularies. But with the approval from the FDA, this should happen for many, many patients should be able to obtain these medications through their insurance policies, thus reducing the cost and making them actually accessible. We'll keep bringing you more updates as we learn more. Obviously, it's going to take a little while for insurance to cover these, and there's more health concerns being studied in the pipeline that could be approved by the FDA, which again could add access for millions of GLP-1 patients. Thanks for tuning in today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if you found it helpful. I hope you have a great holidays. Christopher Durham, and we are the Downsized. See you next time.